Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here on Facebook and YouTube Live to have a conversation about Greater Albuquerque Habitat for Humanity. If anyone who's watching would like to add in a little bit about who they are, and if you're a member of a congregation here in town, what congregation that is, it would be nice for us to get to know everyone a little bit. My name is Bree, and I am the Habitat staff liaison to the faith community here, or communities here in Albuquerque. And we have a lovely short little program for everyone tonight. The Faith Relations Committee is an outreach between Habitat and members of Albuquerque's faith communities. In our discussion, you'll hear from me and Beth Goldman, who is the Director of Resource Development at Habitat. You'll also hear from Martin, a Habitat homeowner. And to start off, you'll hear from Anthony, who used to be a member of our Faith Relations Committee. But Anthony is here representing St. Tim's, and he is a very long time volunteer and advocate, and he's going to say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. I wanted to just kind of discuss and put out there the importance, particularly during the COVID isolation that we've been through for so long, and as churches, the churches for the most part have been closed, or they've been in extremely small groups and isolated from the community. But I just wanted to put out there that for those churches that are seeking to make a difference in the community, that the Habitat for Humanity is a great way to do that. Habitat has been continuing with construction efforts during COVID. They've been restricted to general volunteers, but the special work assignment team volunteers have continued to be working in the community. And another way that faith communities can participate is to donate money and to collect those funds from their congregation and to donate it. I think we're starting Unity House 6 now, which is going to be a project that involves multiple church communities. And the St. Tim's Lutheran Church is in a project with Nob Hill churches and the other ELCA churches in Albuquerque with a goal of $100,000. I know St. Tim's has raised to date around $7,000, which I think is outstanding during these times when we're not attending church. I think that's about all I have, but just to encourage you to follow the light that we proclaim as the good news. Follow that light back out into the world. We've been through a pandemic, and we've been roughed up a little bit, but it's time to come back out into the light and get back to work. That's about all I got for the moment.
Anthony, thank you so much. And yes, I think we've all been roughed up a bit is a really good way to put it. But, like a phoenix, we'll all rise from the ashes and be better for it and stronger. So thank you. And thank you to everyone who is here. As I said before, the Faith Relations Committee is an outreach between Habitat and Albuquerque's faith communities. Nothing would happen at Habitat without dedicated members of congregations like yours, who have helped us fund and build homes and brought lunches to volunteers at build sites. I'd like to show you a short video of what one of those build sites looks like. It's pretty inspiring to see a house grow up from the desert.
There's no sound.
So it seems that we're having some technical difficulties. Our very wonderful video is meant to have sound, but you do get to see the pictures of some very engaged, happy volunteers and homeowners. And so maybe I'll just let this play in the background while I keep talking. And then we can put a link up for anyone who'd like to watch the video at some other time and hear the sound.
I will add that the gentleman that you just saw was speaking in Dari, and we have a lot of diversity in the habitat families, and that's part of what's so beautiful about the work we get to do.
And especially, thank you, Beth, and especially in our relations with various faith communities, we really do strive to have as much diversity as possible and to have as many different groups of people work together as possible. And so with that, I'd like to share a brief history with all of you about habitat. The work that guides us today grew from the mission of Konania Farm, a collective, racially integrated Christian community that was founded in Georgia in 1942 by Clarence Jordan. Konania is a Greek word that means community or fellowship, and it perfectly describes what Jordan wanted to create, a farming community where Black and white families could live and work in harmony. As you all know, racial harmony was not the goal of much of the outside world at the time, especially in Georgia. The farm suffered years of terrorist attacks by the KKK and others, including drive-by shootings. Their farm stands were bombed more than once. They weren't allowed to buy supplies in town or sell their products, but the members persevered. And the concept of partnership housing was born. The idea was for low-income families to work side by side with volunteers to build decent, affordable homes at no profit. Homeowners paid no-interest loans, just like Habitat homeowners today, that combined with donations paid for building more and more homes. Jordan and the founding members of the farm believed that what the poor need is not charity, but capital. And not social workers, but co-workers. They understood that home ownership has the potential to end generational poverty. Sadly, the dream of home ownership is no more in reach for low-income families today, than it was in the 1950s. In fact, the situation, especially for families of color, is in many cases much worse. Discriminatory housing practices like deeds or covenants that forbid Native, Hispanic, or people of color from living in specific homes and neighborhoods are thankfully illegal now. But I should note that they existed, even here in Albuquerque, until the mid-1950s, and that our mayor currently lives in a home that had racially restrictive covenants. The racial inequality gap for home ownership is the highest it's been since the 1980s. While the situation is dire for all low-income families, families of color face a greater housing cost burden overall, especially as renters. And I want to back up and say that it's not the mayor's fault that he lives in a house that used to have those kind of racially restrictive covenants. It's just that's how widespread they were throughout our city. So I'd like to share a little bit of data to add to our conversation. And sometimes I think it's just easier to see it rather than just have me speak a bunch of numbers. So if we could start that. Could I have the next slide, please? So over 30% of Americans spend more than 30% of their income on housing. 1 in 7 spend more than 50%. So more than half of all the income that these families bring in goes out just for rent. The situation is even worse in Albuquerque. 52% of all our families and 57% of Black families spend more than 30% of their income on rent. As most of you probably know, 17% of Albuquerque residents live in poverty, and kids in New Mexico have the highest rate of poverty in the country. But homeowners have an average net wealth that is 400% higher than that of renters with similar demographics and earnings. So what that means is that if a family makes $25,000 a year and they pay the same about that they would pay in rent or owning their home, the family who owns their home is going to grow equity year after year after year. And that is one of the ways that home ownership ends generational poverty. In addition, children of low-income homeowners are 11% more likely to graduate from high school, and they're 4.5% more likely to complete post-secondary education than children of low-income renters. And these are just a few of the positive outcomes associated with home ownership. Ryan's going to leave a link to some studies that were produced both by Habitat and Harvard University so that you can learn more if you'd like to explore. And also the equity study that was produced for the city of Albuquerque about 3 years ago. So that's all depressing and hopeful at the same time. So what can we, you and me and Habitat, do about this? The Habitat Home Ownership Program is a hand up, not a handout. Habitat homeowners put in 550 hours building their homes, and they pay no interest mortgages that are held by Habitat. The Greater Albuquerque Habitat for Humanity serves 425 people annually. During the past year, even in the face of the pandemic, 5 families moved into their new homes, including Martin's. We are holding the mortgages for over 100 families, some of whom have been laid off or who were ill. Sadly, one homeowner even died from the virus. But more than 150 children were able to learn comfortably from home. So back to what you can do. You can pray. You can pray to end poverty, pray for low-income families, pray for Habitat's mission, and please pray for our volunteers. We would love for you to share information about our home repair and home ownership programs with your low-income friends, family, and community members. On our website, under the What We Do tab, there's a link for the repair program. Ryan's going to put those in the chat, where volunteers will come and they'll do minor repairs, fix safety issues. There's some yard work that they can do. They'll also install ramps or help with other minor adjustments for elderly and disabled homeowners. While the application period for our home ownership program is currently closed, folks can visit the website to see if they qualify for the program and to sign up to be notified when the application process reopens. We also invite members of all faith communities and no faith to join our Faith Relations Committee. It is always open to new members. We work together to share Habitat's mission with the greater community. And our most dearly held belief is that we do not need to think alike to love alike. I invite everyone to sign up for our email newsletter, which goes out twice a month. I'm the author. Ryan's going to share a link to that as well in the chat. We encourage you to host a social media or COVID-safe community fundraiser, like a car wash or a garage sale. Soon there will be a link on our website, both on our volunteer page and on the Faith Relations page, with a toolkit to help you set something like that up. You can also email me and I will be happy to help or offer some more information. And of course, you can always donate to Habitat. Clive Rainey, Habitat's first ever volunteer, who I had the pleasure of speaking with not long ago, talks about the magic of the transformative hammer. While our volunteer opportunities are limited because of COVID, there are many kinds of hammers we can use to help build better lives for others while also transforming our own lives and our communities. There's a donate link on the Faith Relations page, and I think that's in the chat. You can also attend Raising the Roof, our annual breakfast fundraiser, which is happening next Saturday on April 17th. Beth, our Director of Resource Management, will talk to you about that now. And here's Beth.
Thank you, Bree. Thanks. I always find that history of Habitat so interesting, and I'm proud to be a part of an organization with the roots that Habitat has. I want to thank everyone who's watching this, and for those of you who are just joining us, this is a presentation that is being done by Habitat for Humanity, Greater Albuquerque Habitat for Humanity's Faith Relations Committee. We're reaching out to people of all faiths and of no faiths within Albuquerque to tell you about our work and to introduce you to a recent homeowner, Martin, who will be speaking and answering questions soon. We're going to have plenty of time for question and answers, and so you can use the chat for that. Comment your questions. If you just joined us, please comment and let us know your name, and if you're representing a faith community, what community you're representing. I'm really, I've been really struck by this spring, this spring that just sprung over the weekend. And it's today's windy. It's not quite as pleasant, but I have this little hyacinth that's growing in my driveway, and it's just all by itself, and it's beautiful. But it's also the fact that it's just this one little flower that came up on its own that wasn't planted. It makes me really happy. It's a volunteer. It came by itself, but it's rooted there now, and every year it's going to keep blossoming, and it's just a big sign to me of spring renewal and rebirth. And I feel like that's the time we're in right now. We're all here in this. We're we're seeing spring around us, and we're feeling nature come to life again. And we're also feeling some renewal in terms of the pandemic. I read on the New Mexico State Health website that 48% of New Mexicans that are age 16 or older have gotten at least one dose of the vaccine. And that's like what, in a 3-month period? So it's pretty amazing. And so that feeling that something new is happening, things are changing, is, I think a lot of us are sharing it. And I want to thank everybody who's out there, who's been helping with the vaccinations, especially people who are helping people who are in who don't have easy access to get vaccinations, who it's more difficult for them to get there. And I appreciate that help and that involvement so much. And I give kudos to all of them for helping us move forward into this time of rebirth and renewal. That whole theme of renewal and rebirth fits right into the Habitat picture to me. It's what a lot of families talk about when they're accepted into a Habitat home repair or home ownership program. They don't always use those exact words, but I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone who's working on their own home say, it's hard for me to believe that people are out here volunteering on their own time on Saturday working on a house for me and my family. And people often say things like, it's given me such a new sense of community, or it makes me feel such renewed faith in humanity. And I hear it from homeowners a lot. I think that Habitat is in the business of renewal in quite a few ways. So Bree talked about the Christian roots of Habitat for Humanity. And as she said, we serve and welcome all people, believers and atheists. We strive really hard to be an accepting and inclusive organization. But because of our mission and our Christian roots, faith communities have been longtime supporters of Habitat. And here in Albuquerque and all over. And hello, Dan. I see you just joined us from St. Tim's. Glad to see you. So a few months ago, in a few months, Habitat's going to complete our 199th home. And 48 of those have been primarily funded and built by the faith community. That's the level of involvement the faith community has in our work. It's their work too. Years ago, one congregation or a few churches from one denomination could sponsor a house. And that means they paid for it and they supplied volunteers to build it. And they also brought lunches down to the volunteers. So we had a Catholic coalition, for instance, and we also had a Presbyterian coalition. But as the cost of land and materials have gone up, and as congregations see their memberships age, it has become burdensome for one congregation to do it alone. And so churches have come together with other affiliations. And for instance, the Catholics and the Presbyterians came together years ago to form the Catholic Presbyterian Coalition to sponsor Houses Together for Habitat. And in 2014, Habitat began a concerted effort to reach out locally and bring together more of Albuquerque's faith communities to build Habitat homes, and also to, whenever a community, a church or a congregation, a synagogue, a mosque gets involved in Habitat, it's also an opportunity for their congregants to learn more about Habitat, and for people who are low income to apply. And so there's always that effect that happens as well, which is another reason that we love to build our relationships within the faith community. So we began this concerted effort to reach out to more communities. And together, instead of building a Presbyterian Catholic house, or we decided to build a Unity house. And we started with Unity House 1. And since then, with love offerings from the Presbyterians, Lutherans, Mennonites, Catholics, Muslims, Methodists, Buddhists, and Jews, we've built Unity Houses 1, 2, 3, and 4. Habitat finished Unity House 4 last August. And that was the house that Martin and Christine and their kids took ownership of in August. Martin will be speaking with you in a few minutes, and he'll also be available to answer questions. But I just wanted to say that we now are planning for Unity House 5. And that will also be built with the support of the faith community. It'll be in a neighborhood that Habitat is just beginning to build the infrastructure for. And we call that community 62nd Street. That's going to be a neighborhood of 11 homes. And as you can see from the picture, let's see, we still have to, it's bare land. You can see that it's bare land. You can see on the right, our general idea of how the 11 homes are going to be laid out. We still have to put in, to continue the road and to put in, bring the utilities to each lot. There's a lot to do before we can actually begin construction on the house. But one of those houses will be Unity House 5. And right now we are raising funds for all of these 11 homes. There'll be a Women Build project there as well. There will be, we have several homes that people are already starting to talk about sponsoring and naming. And the cost of the Unity House will be about $130,000. All of those homes will each cost around that, depending if there are 3 or 4 bedroom. We're hoping to have solar on each of those houses. You can make a donation if you'd like to support the Unity House on our Faith Relations webpage right now. As Bree mentioned, on April 17th, we're going to be holding our annual fundraiser called Raising the Roof. It's a virtual event, and Ryan has the link for you there in the comments. And you can also find the event by texting the words Raising the Roof to the numbers 24, my sun is in my eyes, 243725. In March, what we're doing is all of the money that's collected, the money that that Anthony mentioned that was raised by the St. Timothy's Church and some of their supporters, plus the money that we raise on our website in April and in March, is going to be presented basically as one lump sum at the Raising the Roof event that we're having on behalf of the faith community towards the Unity House 5. So if you'd like to contribute, if you go to the webpage, Faith Relations webpage, and make a donation, that amount will be added to the total amount that is given on April 17th. Right now, we have raised over $6,000 thanks to St. Timothy's Lutheran, and also St. Andrew's Presbyterian has been contributing. I want to thank any of you who decide to donate. I'll thank you in advance right now, because I know that we can do this, but only if we do it together. Habitat also has state tax credits. I apologize for the glare, but the sun is moving. Habitat has a 50% state tax credit available to donors if you make a donation of $1,000 or more. We also can accept qualified charitable distributions, donations of stock, and other, I can tell you also about other tax saving vehicles. You can reach me through the website or by my email if you have questions about any of that. Again, if anyone's just joined, thank you for being with us. I want to remind you that we want to hear your thoughts and your comments. Please tell us what you're thinking as this conversation goes on. You're going to hear from Martin, and you may have a lot of questions, and we invite you to enter those in the comments. Martin was just 10 years old in 1995 when he was separated from his parents, and he was forced to flee to Tanzania to escape the ethnic conflict that was tearing apart his native country of Burundi, Africa. He spent 12 years living in different refugee camps, and he completed his high school studies then, and he met his wife, Christine. Christine was born in Rwanda in 1986, and her parents were Burundian. During the 1994 Rwandan ethnic war, she and her parents found exile in Tanzania at the refugee camp where she met Martin. I believe Ryan has a photo of Martin and his family to show you. Martin and Christine arrived in the United States in 2007 under a refugee. Aren't they a beautiful family? Christine, I believe, sewed the clothing for this is their home dedication. Martin and Christine arrived in the United States in 2007 under a refugee settlement program, and they received services through Catholic Charities. Today, Martin works as the project coordinator and refugee community leader for Refugee Wellbeing Program at the University of New Mexico. He earned his bachelor's degree in social work and is currently an MSW candidate. He's co-founder of the Association of Burundian Americans in New Mexico and a council board member of the Office of Immigrants and Refugee Affairs in the Mayor's Office. Martin is also a member of a Refugee Congress, a national organization supported by the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. He's fluent in Kirundi, Kinyarwanda, Swahili, French, and English, and he serves as a preacher for the Good News Ministry, an evangelical program supported by St. Timothy's Lutheran Church. Christine attended Central New Mexico College to learn English and participated in vocational training organized by Women Global Pathways. During this training, she learned sewing, crochet, jewelry making, and how to open a women-owned business. Christine is co-founder and board member of the Association of Burundian Americans in New Mexico and a volunteer with Good News Ministry. Martin and Christine have been blessed with 4 children, Irvin, Amity, Daryl, and Briella. Martin and Christine consider the United States their first home country, and they've gained citizenship through the naturalization process. Martin, we welcome you into the conversation. We have some questions that we'll ask you, and again, invite our audience to also share questions in the comments. I am going to leave for 1 second to try to close this glare so I can see the screen. I'll be right back. If you can take it for a moment.
Martin, would you mind sharing with everyone who's watching a little bit about your family? How old are your kids? And
Great. Good afternoon, everybody. I have a family of 6, me, my wife, and our children. So as you see on the picture, my oldest son in a black jacket is Alvin Martin. He's 13. And my second born is my daughter. Her name is Amity Martin. And the third is he's 8 years. His name is Daryl Martin. And the last one, she's 2 years. Her name is Briella Martin.
It's a beautiful family.
Martin, how do you think being in your new home affected your kids' experience of learning from home during the pandemic?
I believe this was a good chance for us to be moved in our home where we can get a quiet place that everyone can get enough space to attend classes. I can compare how other families from the project I'm working with, where we've been conducting some interviews to check how they are doing at home. You find a large family in small in a small house. Some some teachers were saying children are there is a lot of background noisy background, but here each child was in a room where they can follow up studies very well. So I think that was very, very helpful for us.
Great, good. Are the kids, did they start back in school?
Yes, from May 5th, yes, I took them back. So yes.
So you grew up in a refugee camp.
Yes, I grew up in a refugee camp in Tanzania. It was the name refugee camp called the Lukole refugee camp that was in northeast side of Tanzania.
How different is it for your kids, and how much of the way that you grew up made you want to move here and give them something different?
Pretty much a refugee resettlement program is a solution to end stateless lifestyle, because when you are a refugee, you are belonging to your United Nations when you cannot go back in your homeland. So that's why the understanding between the United Nations and the United States, and the thanks to America to accept my application and my wife's application together to be resettled in America. So I think that first one was the solution to our situation, and then resume and gain our humankind feeling that we can belong to a nation, we can contribute to a society where we can live stable, we can have a plan for our life. So pretty much, a refugee style is no good. So that's why we can tell our fellow citizens, try to avoid any kind of a conflict can make you leave your home.
It sounds like one of the things you're offering your children is a sense of stability that just doesn't exist if you're a refugee. So belonging and stability sound like pretty major differences.
Yeah, pretty much. We as a refugee, what we can call America, we call that this is the land of opportunity. Before you are asking me what I'm planning for my education, whatever, it's regardless how old you are, you can still go to school. I remember when I was doing English 101 at CNM, I was taking classes with the classmate who's 81 years old. I say, well, this is America, can open door to everybody who still needed to do it. So that's why we try to tell story our children how far we came from. And I believe when this pandemic is over, I'm planning to take them to show where I was born in Burundi, so they can see, they can compare the resources, the beauty they have, so I can motivate, hey, you have an opportunity in your hands. Get a study, get a degree one. If you get it, get another one until where you need it. Because I could not get that chance. I think most of them, they understand.
Yeah, but getting to see where their parents came from they'll never forget that.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah.
And of course, we also try to teach them our language so they can, they don't understand, they can understand us more, but we try to see if we can teach them our culture, our heritage. I think that's what is very important for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a question coming up on the chat here asking if I ever met my neighbors being hard on me. Yes, it was. So we moved here, and our new house was in September during this pandemic period. Uh, it was. I'm not sure how I can express it, but it was good for my family. And sometimes I could not thank enough people who contributed to get this opportunity. I know St. Timothy community, they did a lot there. I know some people who came to help us with for volunteering to help us out to build this house. We didn't get a chance to invite them to, hey, so we can invite them, have a barbecue in the backyard, the front side, so we can celebrate, enjoy it. But I believe one day will be free. So our freedom is approaching pretty soon. I'm going to do it. So that's why I cannot wait to invite Anthony to come to see what it is. So from Sentiment, I was unable to invite one member from there, so he can come to do kind of blessing. So I could not invite them all, but during this pandemic, it's hard. Even though some neighbors we've been together, meeting on a construction site, enjoy having fun. Everyone is at their house, so we are all new in this area, but we cannot visit each other. We are not free, so it is stressful. But I believe the end is coming soon.
I just want to add, Becky, thank you for your question. And so where Martin's house is one of, I don't know if you heard if we explained it very carefully, but it's one of 22 houses that Habitat built on 2 blocks on the West Mesa. It's just west of West Mesa High School. And so Martin, you worked on your own house, did you? And how many other houses did you work on, do you think?
Let me see. I think since I started my house here, this is the 3rd building I work on. And I was looking to work to the next one they're about to finish, but the pandemic coming in and said, oh, no, we cannot get there. I said, oh, I missed a lot. Yeah, because when they start this new house, I told Pete, I needed to see the process from zero all the way up. That's why he was taking picture. Matt, you said you need to see this. Take picture or come see it. They go. So I was curious to see, as you said, I like the movie you saw. You showed how a house is growing from the foundation where they get digging down. I was thinking pretty much I need to see curious what is the underground, what it is. I saw some, and I saw how they built some my house. I can locate. I can see this. There is a pipe for this. There is a cable. There's something like that, so I can get idea what's going on.
Right.
Yeah.
And the new neighborhood, 62nd Street, which is not, it's pretty close to Mesa del Rio. It's just on the east side of Coors, and it's just like a block south of Fortuna. So it's very close by. So when that gets started, you can see it over there.
I'm curious if you have anything to share about your experience with Habitat or things that you've thought about Habitat that might not be obvious to other people. What's something about Habitat that
Yeah. And if you don't mind, if I can grab a cable pretty fast so my computer cannot die, I'll be back in a minute, right?
Yes,
Okay.
of course. So, Beth, I guess we already talked about 62nd Street. But one of the things that occurred to me when Martin was speaking and thinking about asking him about something unique that maybe the other people watching don't know or wouldn't think about, what occurred to me is that he knows where everything is behind the sheetrock in his house. That's a pretty unique thing about Habitat. And with 62nd Street being a blank canvas with no infrastructure and everything else that has to go in, that'll be quite something for those homeowners, the ones who will be able to see it from the very beginning.
Absolutely. I see there's a question from Kelly. Were these houses on Shelwood and Lomas built by Habitat? I don't believe we built on Shelwood and Lomas, Kelly. I don't think so. Does not sound familiar to me. And then a question for Martin. What do you like most about Albuquerque?
About Albuquerque as a city, pretty much as I told you, for refugee settlement program, we don't have a choice to choose where we go. So that's why when we departed from Kenya, from Tanzania, from the first flight, we didn't know where we were going. So we knew the name of paper. We could not even sound Albuquerque as a Albuquerque, something like that. We could know where we go. So, but we knew the UN and America, they decided to move out to live to Albuquerque. So I think Daura can share first. And since I came here, I got opportunity to visit these different places in America, different states. I've been planning to move. Hey, can we move in Arizona? Oh, too hot. Can we move to Colorado? Oh, snow's hot. What about Seattle? Oh, it's too cold. So what about in DC? No, that's a business place. No, we end up stay here. So pretty much pretty much we like it. And I think it's a land we have a lot of blessings. All my children were born here. I got good connection, a lot of friends, including Anthony and some other friends I'm making. So I think I like this. I like this place with our situation. I think for we as the refugees, to stay here for me and my family, I think he is good.
Can I add a real quick piece as a volunteer?
Please.
Yeah. It's neat. Martin touched on it, but the families will help build each other's homes. So in that building process, they're in the midst of building community and building not just a neighborhood of structures. They're building friendships with each other. And as a volunteer, I've been a special work assignment team volunteer for, golly, I guess about 9 years now, and have helped build about 30 houses. And the neat thing as a volunteer is that you get to know each and every one of those families. You get to interact and help build those homes with not just the adults, but you get to know the children too. You get to know that whole family as a volunteer as well. So as Martin said, as they're building their houses, their community is just getting bigger and bigger as they're participating in each house, and they're knowing people that are all over the city, really. And it's a neat practical exercise. And but that's the biggest joy that I find out of volunteering for Habitat, is just get to work side by side with those families.
You are very much appreciated, Anthony, and there's a whole group of volunteers that are as committed as Anthony, that are wonderful people, very generous with their time, and it's a way of building community. They offer resources sometimes to the homeowners, to each other, to the other volunteers. There's several people that have been volunteers who end up applying to become Habitat homeowners, that they've found out about, they volunteer in the community, and then they're like, oh wait, who gets these houses? And there's been several families in that situation, and that's pretty neat to see as well.
Are there any other questions? So Martin, what would be one thing that the rest of the world might not know about Habitat, but you do?
Yeah, I think what I can say for Habitat for Humanity is this is an organization that can restore can make someone can feel as a humankind when they were displaced, not to see the future, how they can move forward. I think in my culture, to have an address is very important for us as Africans. So we don't count for someone living in the city who is so I'm sorry for whoever has been listening here, don't be offended. But for us, in our culture, a family have a land and a house where they belong, not more, not to keep moving from there. That's very important. And I found out that I've been learning from other people from other parts of the world that we share the same country. I think Mexicans, it's about the same issue, the same case too. So, and about habit of mind, to see how they select people, they can, it was a very important. They can include we refugees from overseas, including single mothers struggling to raise children alone, and also single fathers. It's not only single mothers facing a problem like that. I knew one case. I was thinking, oh my God, what's going on? And I end up approaching him. Hey, how have you been selected? And he told me a lot of stuff. I say, oh, that's very important. And we can see how the diversity. So to have everybody, they can come together. As you can see here, we are talking. I think I like the organization, and it's a good organization for people who need to volunteer. Well, their work can be recognized forever. They can come, because I cannot forget, like for Anthony, one day he came with a group of people, and at the end of shift, they say, "Hey, you know what? We are going to donate all our hours to you." I was saying, "Oh no, I cannot believe until you sign it." So find out how many hours they gave out to me. So I'm still waiting. When they were free, can say, "Hey, tell them to see, so can at least share a donut. They can see that the house we've been building that time, that's my children are living there." I think it's very important to change someone else's life, and that they're not going to forget for that forever. If you give me something to eat, I can forget it. But if you did something that can change my life, someone else's life, that's a good way for investing your power, your capacity, and educate silently to come even to volunteer even 1 hour and have a sign in the book and then help. I think that was good. So I've been pretty curious. I've been asking Pete. Pete is one of Habitat of Humanity staff who is in the field most of the time. Asking him, hey, where are you going to do the construction next when you finish from here? He told me so I can see maybe one day when we become free. I can so by volunteer. I'm not sure who they will be. How they'll be making that time. But I'll be happy to show as I am a member of this community. For we refugees too to say, hey, we are new Mexicans now. I think that's a great opportunity for us as refugees. We can find ourselves where we can express fee. You can try to listen to me. I know my English with a heavy accent from 4 languages. But I see
your English is amazing.
You are listening to me carefully. Maybe,
amazing.
Yeah. So that's why it's not only me, but this is a healing from a long trauma that we can find a place where we can talk and have people listen to us. I can say more, but I really appreciate that.
That was incredible. That answer was so much broader than anything probably any of us expected. And your experiences are unlike anything that we can relate to. But thank you for sharing, because that does help us understand. And I love that you said that, you got to become New Mexicans also by building not just your own home, but other people's homes. And so it isn't that idea that Habitat works together. We're all co-workers together. Nobody is giving out charity. It's all a collective endeavor to house people. And that's, you're not a refugee anymore.
No, I am not. But I cannot forget where I came from. So
right.
For we believers, I think there is some words in the Bible that keep remind, do not forget where it came from, how far God brought from. So that's why I am American. I have everything. I have a free as all Americans. But that's my past, that the foundation I can tell the story. So people who will not go through the struggle I went through, they can find out, oh wow, we are lucky more than him. If I can do something, I can tell them, you can do more than I did.
Well, that seems like the perfect note to end on. If there aren't any other questions, Martin, Anthony, I know that we are at Habitat are so grateful that you took the time to speak here with us tonight. Please, if anyone is watching and you have questions or additional comments, feel free to reach out to either me or to Beth. And I look forward to hopefully very, very soon meeting everyone in person and having a barbecue at Martin's house, right?
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you,
Anthony.
everyone. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.